here today as a graphic reporter. So as the speakers today were speaking, I was not only listening, I was also trying to capture visually what they were saying. And so there's three things I'm going to touch on today that how I was thinking about this painting. The first is the integral model. The second is how what I heard fits into that model. And then the third is my personal connection to climate change. So what I like about the integral model, I love models, but what I like about this model in particular is it talks about not only what we can see, it also talks about what we can't see in both individuals and the collective. So what we can see in individuals is like what I can do, and to some degree our knowledge, and what you can't see is what I believe and what my assumptions are and what I value. And the same is true for the collective as well. What we can see is things like rules, regulations, our infrastructure, our built environment, and what you can't see is things like our shared values and our shared assumptions. And so how I was thinking about that with this painting is what I heard about the infrastructure, the collective things that can be seen are things like the 2016 FireSmart plan, fire management plans, land use planning. Are the trails open or not? Like, what are the rules around that right now? What's government policy? What are the strategic plans? What are the laws about burning? What about air quality information? And so those things are all really important and govern what we do. But it's really like these shared values that we have, like thinking about, we all value clean air, but we're not all impacted by smoke when it's in the air in the same way. And so we all really value, you know, a clean environment and going carbon neutral, but what we do with that can be very different depending on our individual values. And so, you know, we have this built environment, we have this collective group of people, and yet like we're really influenced by our individual values. And so where I heard that is, you know, can I accept a small fire or not? What is burned? How much of it is burned? How much should be spent on burning? How do I see trees close to my house? Are trees close to my house like something I think is really pretty, or is it something that I see as being a hazard? And so how that, how my individual values influence what I do. So, like for instance, backcountry operators needing to be more prepared for forest fire. Their individual values will influence what they do. I heard someone talk about the ridiculous behavior in the backcountry regarding fires and garbage. So that's like my individual values influencing what I'm doing when I'm out there. What do I need to do to be prepared for a forest fire or a smoky day? We were talking about like people making individual choices around their health. Should I ride my bike or not today? And then what choices do I have around landscaping and building materials? Do I put a metal roof? Do I trim the trees around my house? And so I feel curious to hear more about what are my individual values and how do they contribute to resiliency? And then what are my individual values and how much do they contribute to if I'm going to change or not? What am I going to do differently? And so how I relate to this personally is, like I live in Birken, I live north of Pemberton, and I always thought that if I was going to lose my house, I would lose my house to forest fire. And so like I was like, in terms of individual, what I know and what I could do, I was ready. Like we had practiced the evacuation plan, I had everything ready, I had the bug out bag, we were ready. And in the end, we ended up losing our home to a landslide. And like I didn't know when I left my house that last time, it's not what I grabbed. I didn't know I was leaving my house for the last time that day. And so I think forest fire is inevitable, and it's important we be prepared. And you know, there's also a lot of opportunity. I think of the forest fire that's happened in Fort McMurray and how devastating that is for the people who are there and how much loss there is. And it's also an opportunity for us to be thinking about, wow, what would we do in this community? What do we need to be doing differently? What do I need to be doing differently? So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions about the piece or how I arrived here, I'm happy to answer them. From what I understand from the ladies, this piece will be in the library in Whistler if you'd like to see it. So thank you very much for a really informative, amazing day today.
We are actually going to put this in the library, and we're going to include with it some FireSmart information and also interpret the piece, so that people who weren't here at this event can actually grasp some of the themes that we talked about today, and to act as a continual awareness piece throughout the wildfire season in the summer this year. So that's a kind of ongoing legacy from the event. So thank you, Erin, for creating it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
And last but not least, thank you so much for your terrific contributions here. This is really important. You know, we're going to take your recommendations, your ideas for actions and collaboration. We're going to actually do something with this. You know, so this isn't just sort of like a blip that happened. We really want to take this out and make this be actions that end up being implemented in the community. So we had our speakers review, and each sort of chose their best, and we came to our top winner, and we have Emma, who's won us Scott and Knox podcast. So continue. I mean, we have the space for a little while longer. I don't even know too much. You got 20 minutes.
But it's for fire. Oh, okay. For representing fire. I have no idea.
So I would call it a future report.
Future report.
You guys.
That's going to hang in the library. I think we're going over after the event, too. Yeah, it's like 13 degrees out. Well, first week of summer, you know. Not like, yeah, like May, it was like 30 plus degrees out. All right, well, that looks pretty good. I think we'll skip the weather return, so.